You're listening to Murder, Not Murdering with Erin,
and Autumn.
a true crime podcast about murder and murdering, but we are not murderers. We promise. Okay, Autumn, I have got something to talk about.
Okay. Let me know.
Well, in the vault episode, I have to get this off my chest. So, my episode tonight specifically has to do with sex workers. And when we originally recorded the vault episode, I was going off a lot of my notes and I wasn't even thinking about anything. And I said the word prostitute several times. And I wholeheartedly believe that sex workers are doing real work, and I completely did not mean to be offensive. So I went back and I dubbed myself over so that I would be saying sex worker throughout the episode. But the way that I had to go do it was I had to go back into the vault by myself, since you were obviously at work. And I went and had all the recording equipment still there. I sat down and there was we had some people working on the building and things going on. And I was just sitting in there by myself in the booth going, sex worker, local sex worker, Jessica Hoopstick, local sex worker, and just saying it over and over again. They probably thought I was absolutely insane by myself, just repeating the word sex worker. But I was trying to be a little bit more correct in what I was saying, but I just completely, you can tell I dubbed it over. And so I just wanted to clear the air.
Yes.
I do take it seriously.
Yes, we do.
The problem is that I sound really serious in my recording because I'm dubbed over. So I know it's obvious. I'm sure lots of you, we've heard from a few of you. I'm sure that you noticed that I did dub myself over, but I was trying to do the right thing.
I love this story because I can just picture you sitting in that vault by yourself, repeating over and over again, sex worker, local sex worker.
I know. Well, and I was trying to say my words clearly and make sure that I sounded right.
It was clear.
I know. It just goes from my normal cadence, and then all of a sudden it dubs over and it's like local sex worker. It's like, oh God.
But I was just take it seriously, and we've gotten a lot of comments and people are like, wow, Erin really takes sex work seriously.
I do.
All jokes aside, we really do. But it just was kind of like the elephant in the room.
It was. So I kind of wanted to mention it because you will be hearing me say those phrases again, but they will be in my regular cadence in this very recording. Yes. I won't be sitting in a vault by myself repeating the words over and over again. I tried to make it match. It just, you could clearly tell I dubbed it.
Anyway. Okay, we'll move on.
Yes. So tonight I'm going old-timey again, which I think may be my thing. I don't know. We're going to see where this goes.
I love it.
I'm going to be telling the story of Dr. Thomas Neill Cream, a.k.a. the Lambeth Poisoner, a.k.a. possible Jack the Ripper confessioner.
I don't think I've heard of him.
Well, buckle up.
I'm here for it.
That's just as far as I got. I'm losing my mind. It's fine. Okay. Thomas Cream was born in 1850 in Glasgow, Scotland, but he was raised in Quebec, Canada, after his family moved there in 1854. He was an excellent student at school and then at college. He attended McGill in Canada, and then he went to study medicine in London in 1876. But he had a specific reason why he needed to move across the Atlantic, specifically because he had just gotten married to a woman he got pregnant, and the bride's family actually forced him to marry her at gunpoint.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds very romantic.
Isn't it though? Well, the honeymoon was over pretty quickly when Thomas left in the night for England, leaving a note to his wife. He returned to Canada just long enough for his wife to die from a mysterious illness. Suspect.
Sounds legit. Sounds
Yeah.
legit.
He would later be blamed for that death, but he did not serve any time for it. Then he went to Edinburgh to practice medicine. But after that, a woman he had an affair with was found dead, pregnant, poisoned by chloroform in an alleyway in August 1879. And he fled to the United States of America.
How lucky we have him.
Well, now he's in Chicago and he sets up a practice not far from the red light district, where he established himself to be a place for sex workers to come and have abortions, illegal abortions. In 1880, he was investigated after one of his patients died. They tried him for her murder. However, the principal witness was a Black midwife who assisted him sometimes, and the jury gave her little weight to her testimony, and he completely got away with it and went free. Isn't that fucked up?
That is
on so many levels.
I honestly, I can't even find the words for that. That's so shitty.
Well, it gets worse. So on July 14th, 1881, a man named Daniel Stott died of strychnine poisoning. Dr. Cream was arrested once again, along with Mr. Stott's wife, Julia. Mr. Stott was a much older man, and he was quite a bit older, I think 3 times older than Julia. And she strayed and had an affair with Dr. Cream. In June 1881, Julia came to pick up her husband's prescriptions at Dr. Cream's office. This was normal for her. One of them was a laxative, and the other were capsules filled with herbs and a smidge of strychnine. It was often used as a stimulant. So Julia then went to Buck and Rayner's, which was a pharmacist across town, after she was instructed to do so by Dr. Cream. On her way back, she stopped by his office and he enhanced the formulas.
Okay.
Yeah. A few days later, when Mr. Stott took his medications, he was dead within a half an hour. Mr. Stott was buried and the matter was forgotten. Because he was older, they assumed it had something to do with health problems or just old age. However, a telegram showed up to the coroner's office and it said, "I want you to have a postmortem examination on the body of Dan Stott. Have stomach examined, suspect foul play."
Okay, that's super suspicious.
Right? A day after that, another telegram came. And after that, a third one arrived at the coroner's office. And at that point, they finally contacted the author of the telegrams, who was Dr. Thomas Neill Cream. They interviewed the doctor, and he said a fortune teller told him that Stott was poisoned and it was the druggist's fault.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That fortune teller is really on it.
Right? That's a credible witness. And this part gets really under my skin, because the next thing he said was he suggested they give the leftover medications to a dog. And they did that, and the dog died. So they exhumed Mr. Stott's body. His stomach contained enough strychnine to kill 6 grown men. And though Dr. Cream tried to pin it on the pharmacist, he was ultimately convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison.
Well, he's the one that made these special concoctions.
He is. And he was at fault. He literally murdered him. So Julia turned state's witness, and she was able to avoid jail by testifying that Dr. Cream did these things, right? Dr. Cream was a man who disliked women, and Julia's betrayal not only enhanced his misogyny, but, and you're going to freak out, he was then released after serving 10 years.
No.
Apparently, his brother pleaded for leniency, but in all of my research that I did, they said that Dr. Cream had a massive inheritance from his father, and he used those funds to heavily bribe officials, and that's how he got out of his life imprisonment to 10 years.
Money talked.
Yep, to 10 years.
Great.
So, using that money, Dr. Cream, now 41, went to Britain, arriving in Liverpool on October 1st, 1891. He went to London and settled in Lambeth. Though London was a place of vast wealth and decadence in Victorian era, Lambeth itself was filled with poverty, petty crime, and sex work. On October 13th that year, 19-year-old Ellen Nellie Donworth, a local sex worker, told police.
No, I like those long names.
I know you do. She told a police officer that she received a note from a prospective client. She met a cross-eyed man in gold spectacles with a mustache. He offered her a drink from a bottle of white liquid. She thought it was alcohol, so she took it. She was found having violent convulsions and died on the way to the hospital. She died from strychnine poisoning.
Sounds familiar, Mr. Cream.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm sorry, Dr. Cream.
Yes. Now, London was reeling from the horrific unsolved Jack the Ripper slayings of 3 years prior, and they suspected that this could be Jack the Ripper at it again. A week later, another sex worker, Matilda Clover, was found writhing in her bed, raving that a client, a tall, cross-eyed man with a mustache, had given her some pills. She died the next morning. They determined her death to be from the effects of alcoholism. So that was it. She was buried and they moved on. On April 2nd, 1892, after a vacation to Canada, Dr. Cream was back in London, where he attempted to poison a woman who found him suspicious and she refused to consume the drink that he was trying to give her. So she got away. Then on
Smart lady.
Right, then April 11th, so, like a week later, two sex workers, Alice Marsh, 21 years old, and Emma Shrivell, 18 years old, went to his flat where he offered them bottles of Guinness. He fled the scene as the two women died in agony of strychnine poisoning. And they were
poor babies.
They were heard screaming, and that's why.
No.
And they were found by the person that ran the boarding house. Yeah.
That is really sad. They were so young.
So young. So awful. Dr. Cream then wrote police a letter accusing two respectable and innocent doctors of killing several of the women. And in the letter, he mentions Matilda Clover. The police quickly determined that the accused doctors were innocent, but then they realized that the anonymous accuser, when Dr. Cream wrote them, he was writing anonymously. They didn't know it was him yet. But they knew that this accuser, because he referred to Matilda's death as a murder, and they originally determined that it was related to alcohol, now they think this guy is a serial killer. And at this point, they were now referring to him as the Lambeth poisoner. Matilda's body was then exhumed, and she was found to have died of strychnine poisoning.
Surprise.
Now, it's all over the papers. People are talking about it. They're just off of Rippers. So they're all, what is this? Who is this? Do we have a new serial killer on our hands? Tips are starting to pour in. But it wasn't until Dr. Cream attended a party where he spoke to Sergeant Patrick McIntyre, an American police officer who just happened to be there. And he launched into an attack of the police. He also knew a lot of details about the case, and he bore a striking resemblance to the descriptions that were given by the victims. He was tall, he was cross-eyed, he had gold spectacles, and a big old mustache. And you'll see pictures of him on our Instagram once we post this episode, and you will see that is literally what he looked like. I mean, I don't know how many people, maybe a lot of people looked like that. Mustaches were very popular at the time. But the fact that he was cross-eyed, I think, was something that stood out. And the fact that he wore gold spectacles.
Yeah. And yeah, like you said, the cross-eyed part is definitely
more defining feature.
Yes, because not
Yeah.
very many people are.
Yeah. Or maybe they were. I don't know. I wasn't alive in the 1890s.
Oh, you weren't?
I wasn't.
Could have
Actually,
fooled
I look
me.
very young. So Sergeant McIntyre started to look into Dr. Thomas Neill Cream and his background. He then went to Scotland Yard and told them everything. He told them about all the things he had told them at the party and that he knew all these details. And he also mentioned to him about the murder of Matilda Clover as well. So, he's running his mouth. Not
Right.
long after that, they sure enough pick him up and arrest him for murder of 4 women. His trial was for the murder of Matilda Clover. It opened on October 17th, 1892. The most damning evidence was from Dr. Cream's own words that he said to Sergeant McIntyre, linking Matilda to the women that were found to be poisoned, as well as they were able to link the anonymous letters to him as well. Had he not run his mouth about that, they never would have exhumed her and looked at him as a suspect.
Of course, he ran his mouth, though. He was definitely wanting the attention.
Yes, he was someone who was a narcissist and a misogynist. And in the beginning of the story, I mentioned he constantly reaches out to the police, writes them letters. When he reached out in Chicago saying, it was the pharmacist, a fortune teller told me, don't look at me.
Right.
It's like, buddy, this
like,
may not be
I don't know from anybody. I just heard from a fortune teller. I have nothing to do with it. The fortune teller told me.
Exactly. So it took a jury all of a total of 10 minutes to find him guilty. He was then sentenced to death by hanging. So he did not go on trial for any of the other murders since he was supposed to be put to death. The death penalty in Victorian London was a very quick process. So in less than a month after his conviction on November 16th, 1892, Dr. Thomas Neill Cream was hung at the Newgate prison. His last words were noted to be, "I am Jack." And at that point, his neck was snapped.
No.
So he did not finish his sentence. It cut off right then. So many people believed that this was a confession to being Jack the Ripper. However, he was still serving time in prison in Chicago during the Ripper killings in the mid-1880s. Nonetheless, he appears on so many people's lists as a suspect for Jack the Ripper, saying that there might have been evidence that he bribed the authorities to let a double serve his sentence in Chicago and that he actually made it to London during that time period. However, there is literally hardly any evidence to support this at all. I did a ton of digging and I didn't find anything. So I kind of find that theory not that plausible to me. The other thing that I find strange is that clearly his MO was strychnine poisoning. It'd be really strange that he started doing strychnine poisoning from the very beginning, or his wife he was suspected of killing, which was chloroform. But it would be strange that all of a sudden now he turned into mutilation. And,
Yeah.
though it was also sex workers, I can see that there is a connection there. But it just seems kind of odd to me that he would change his MO and then go back to strychnine
Yeah,
poisoning.
that's a good point because the poisoning is kind of a removed crime. It's not really that personal. And
Yeah.
Jack the Ripper was very personal with you had to have you had to get your hands dirty in his killings.
Yes. And though Thomas Neill Cream was a doctor, it's still, to me, it just doesn't add up. Also, he was literally serving his life in prison in Chicago during that time period. He got out, but he didn't get out until after the Ripper killings were done. None of that bit really adds up to me. Anyway, That's the story of the misogynistic psychopath, Dr. Thomas Neill Cream. I got my information from Murderpedia and casebook.org.
I really liked that. That was very interesting.
Isn't it though? I find him quite interesting in his stories, but at the same time, like, because he bounced around to different countries and he was supposed to be in, I mean, he literally was convicted of murder and got away with it,
Yeah,
essentially.
that part makes me kind of angry that
Because he
he,
could pay his way out.
yes, that he paid his way out of doing paying time for his crime.
I know. I know. It's really annoying that he got away with it. And he was like kind of an asshole and really fucked up and he hated women. And that's why he would constantly choose young sex workers. It's frustrating.
That is frustrating. He should never have been back out on the streets.
Oh no, never, ever, ever. But I think he also was a narcissist and he wanted to take credit for it as well.
Oh,
Like
he for sure did.
he liked to call the police. He liked to be a little bit in the mix of things,
Yeah, he was
So,
inserting himself.
exactly. Well, that's my old timey murder story this week. And we're going to take a quick break and then we'll be back with Autumn to hear her story. So we'll hear from our sponsors and we'll be back in just a minute.
Welcome back to Murderer Not Murdering. I'm going to jump right on into my story.
That sounds good to me.
I'll be doing the Seattle Excedrin Murders. Have you heard this one?
I feel like maybe. I thought there was a Tylenol one. Is that a different?
That is a different one, the Chicago Tylenol Murders.
Oh, okay. That's what I was thinking of. I feel like I vaguely remember hearing something, or maybe it's more like something my mom told me, at some point in time.
Yeah, I think you'll know this story, but you might not know the story, if that makes sense.
I'm sure I know I don't know it. But I think it maybe my mind is just like my mom being like, don't use those if they're open already.
Yes,
kind of like one of those sort of things. Maybe that's where my mind's going.
Yes, and that would be probably stemming from this 100%.
All right, let's jump into this.
On June 5th, 1986, in Auburn, Washington, Bruce Nickel came home from his job as a heavy equipment operator with a headache. His wife of 12 years, Stella Nickel, said that he took 4 extra strength Excedrin capsules from a bottle they had in their home, something the 52-year-old must have done on a regular basis. Stella said moments later, he went out on his deck to watch the birds and collapsed.
Oh, no.
She called 911, stating her husband was in extreme distress. First responders arrived, and he was rushed to Harborview Medical Center by helicopter.
That's serious.
Yes. For those that aren't local, Harborview is our trauma center.
Yes.
He was treated, but they were unable to save him. The physicians ruled Bruce's death natural causes, citing complications from emphysema.
Huh. But he wasn't having those. I mean, I guess he must have been having symptoms to that then.
Right. When they say complications, it makes me think that he had a pre-existing condition.
Yeah.
And so it made sense to them that he would die of that pre-existing condition.
Yeah, that adds up.
The cause of death did not sit well with his wife. She was very adamant that his death was accidental. He had just had a headache and took a pain reliever to help. She had stated that his diagnosis didn't make sense because she didn't believe that he ever had that disease. So the doctors are telling her he died from complications from emphysema.
And
but
she's saying he never had that.
Yeah, she's saying that he never had that.
So this is not adding up.
Not to her. Stella Nickel was born in Colton, Oregon in August of 1943. She was the daughter of Alva, Joe, and George Stevenson. Her family did not have a lot of money, and it is said she grew up very poor.
Okay.
Stella gave birth to her first daughter, Cynthia Hamilton, at the age of 16. Super young.
Yeah.
After the birth of her daughter, she moved to Southern California, where she met and married a man and had another daughter named Leah. Stella had a string of various legal troubles, including a conviction for fraud in 1968. The following year, she beat her daughter, Cynthia, with a curtain rod.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And
No
she was,
wire hangers.
no, no mommy dearest here, a curtain rod. And she was also convicted of forgery in 1971. She served 6 months for the fraud charge, but she was only ordered to go to counseling for the abuse of her daughter, which is insane to me because she beat her with a curtain rod.
Oh, yeah. No, there should have been a harsher punishment there.
Bruce and Stella met in 1974 and bonded over their similar lifestyles. They both were heavy drinkers and were regulars on the Auburn Kent Tavern circuit.
Mm.
They had found their life partners in each other and married in 1976 when Stella was 32 years old. Stella worked as a security screener at the Seattle Tacoma Airport and also had a hobby of home aquariums. They made a very modest income and lived in a single wide trailer. On June 11th, around 6 a.m., Sue Snow, a 40-year-old bank manager, and her husband, Paul Webking, took 2 extra strength Excedrin capsules, her for her headache and him for his arthritis. Sue took the pills almost every morning. She also liked the buzz from the caffeine. She preferred it to drinking a cup of coffee. Webking left the house for work, and Sue went to the bathroom to plug in her curling iron. About 40 minutes later, Sue's 15-year-old daughter, Haley, went to check on what was taking her mom so long. She called out for her mom, but with no answer. She could hear, I know, she could hear running water and went inside the bathroom to find her mother clutching her chest and had very labored breaths.
That sounds a lot like the previous death.
Yes, and it get worse.
No.
Sue was rushed to the hospital, but she never regained consciousness. Doctors suspected she had died of a brain aneurysm, but they were not able to detect any internal bleeding. They
But
also
wasn't she having trouble breathing?
Yes, she was having trouble breathing and she was clutching her chest when her daughter found her.
But they thought it was a brain aneurysm?
That was their initial suspect. They suspected that, but they were unable to detect any internal bleeding. So that led them to look at other avenues.
Yeah.
They also suspected that she could have died from a drug overdose.
Okay.
But Snow's family insisted that she did not take drugs, drink, or even smoke.
Yeah.
Unable to determine the cause of death, an autopsy was ordered. During her autopsy, one of the pathologists could detect the faint smell of bitter almonds. Now, I didn't know this, but the smell of bitter almonds is also a telltale sign of cyanide.
Yes, I was just about to say, I didn't know that one.
I didn't.
That's also something that they would use in Victorian eras. So
of course.
Ding, ding, ding.
Old-timey people, the cyanide.
Yep.
20 to 40% of the population actually can't smell the bitter almond smell.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But that pathologist was one of the population that could.
Wow. Thank goodness.
They ordered some lab work to confirm his suspicion, and it came back positive for cyanide poisoning.
Okay.
When Snow's family was given the news, they were shocked. The investigators asked if it was possible that she had poisoned herself. They were absolutely certain that she would never have done that.
So they were suspecting possible suicide.
Yes.
Okay.
After going over that horrible morning, they started to wonder if the capsules she had taken were tainted. The thought was brought on by the Chicago Tylenol murders that killed 7 people and injured 108.
Yeah.
That case is still unsolved. And I would love to talk about it in another episode.
Totally.
Because it's actually really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
But for now, it was a mass murder that had someone tainting Tylenol laced with potassium cyanide in October of 1982.
Yeah.
So just a few years prior to what's happening in Seattle right now. The bottle of extra strength Excedrin was brought in for testing. The lab confirmed that there were capsules laced with cyanide in the bottle Sue Snow and her husband had used the morning of her death.
Okay.
How lucky was her husband that he didn't take the capsules that were laced with cyanide? Or is he lucky? Or is it always the husband?
Well, now, I mean, but we have the other death. So I'm like, I don't know.
Right. But the other death was emphysema.
Yeah. So that they thought at the time.
Yes. On June 16th, the FDA published the lot number from the tainted capsules. Bristol Myers, the manufacturer, reached out to the stores that carried their product and asked that they be taken off the shelves and not sold to consumers.
That makes sense.
It was during this time that the police found 2 additional bottles of tainted capsules in Auburn and in Kent.
Oh, that weren't opened or used.
Right. So they were in the stores with the lot number.
So there was several then.
Yes. As you can imagine, Washington was in complete hysteria. Police ordered all non-prescription capsules be taken off the shelves immediately.
Of any kind?
Of any kind.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The King County Medical Examiner's Office began looking into any unexplained deaths that could be related to the cyanide-laced capsules.
I mean, it makes sense after the Tylenol situation that they would be on a high alert.
100%. A state of emergency was declared in King County. Due to the Chicago mass murders, there was a recent federal law that made product tampering a federal crime.
Mhm.
So the FBI was called in to investigate. 60 agents were assigned to Sue Snow's case.
Oh, wow.
60.
That's insane.
Yes. This was a very serious situation, and the FBI needed the manpower.
Well, yeah, they needed to get damage control like right away.
On June 17th, one of the FBI investigators, Jack Cusack, was working the case when he received a call from a recent widow. The 42-year-old woman told him about her husband who had passed away 12 days ago under strange circumstances after taking 4 Excedrin extra strength capsules. The woman on the other line was Stella Nickel.
Yeah.
Bruce had already been buried, and his death certificate had the cause of death as emphysema, but he was an organ donor, so a sample of his blood was preserved. They were able to test that sample, and on June 19th, it came back with traces of cyanide.
There it is.
Yep. Stella had been arguing all along that her husband's death was an accident and that he had not died of complications from emphysema. So now she was validated.
Yeah. That's gotta feel, I mean, it's shitty, but at least you have that where you have a little more peace of mind.
Right. I don't remember having this disease. He took 4 Excedrin, went out on the deck to watch some birds, and now he's dead.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can imagine the widow is definitely thinking he's part of this.
I will never watch birds again.
No, no bird watching.
That's it. That's the culprit.
The public was in a panic. There was a monster on the loose killing people with a popular pain reliever. Cusack was looking for any clues that Snow and Nickel were connected in any way, and he came up empty-handed. He could not find any connection.
I wonder too if they had more like our modern day systems, if it would have been easier to track down anybody that may have purchased. Like people are less likely to use cash, people, than then.
Yeah, totally.
So I wonder if they would be able to track it down faster.
Well, and the lot numbers, everything would have been electronic. It would have been way faster.
Yeah.
Bristol Myers recalled all Excedrin capsules in the USA. And on June 24th, Washington State put a 90-day ban on all non-prescription capsules from being sold.
Oh, wow.
So basically, if you had a headache during that time frame, you were
Tough
screwed.
it out.
Yeah. Like you're just going to have to put your big girl pants on and walk through the pain.
Oh, man. I get
A-
migraines, so I can't even imagine.
no. A group of drug companies came together and offered a $300,000 reward to find the person responsible for the crime.
Well, that's good.
Well, they're bleeding billions of dollars at this
Oh,
point.
yeah.
They have banned for 90 days the sale of prescription capsules,
I
of
mean,
non-prescription capsules.
I'm sure those numbers were staggering on how many they sold even just per day.
Right. And Bristol Myers pulled all of their Excedrin from the entire USA.
Yeah.
So they're like,
They're hemorrhaging.
yes, they're like $300,000 to who can bring us the person that is responsible for this crime.
Yeah.
Suspicion of tampering with the product were directed toward the manufacturer of the Excedrin capsules. Stella Nichol and Paul Webking filed wrongful death lawsuits against Bristol Myers. The FDA inspected the Morrisville, North Carolina production plant where the lot number came from. Their search turned up no traces of cyanide to explain the tainted bottles found in Washington. Additional examination of the bottles from Washington was done, and something very unusual was found in addition to traces of cyanide. Flecks of an unknown green substance. Further tests were done, and it was discovered that the green flecks were a algicide used in home aquariums.
No.
Yes, sold under the brand name Algae Destroyer. With the manufacturer's production facility ruled out, they began to focus on the end product users. During this time, Stella had provided them with 2 bottles, both confirmed to be laced with cyanide, that she stated she had bought from 2 different Washington locations at 2 different times. I don't know about that, Stella.
Stella.
Paul and Stella were asked to take polygraph tests. Paul complied, but was very vocal about his mistreatment by the FBI. Nichols' lawyer from the wrongful death suit declined on behalf of her client, stating that Nichol was too emotionally shaken up to be subjected to a polygraph test.
Okay.
And I'm not really a big fan of polygraph tests anyway. I don't really think.
I mean, they don't, there's so many people have been able to, I mean, we've even talked about people on this show that have been able to get through a polygraph.
Yes. They're not admissible in court. I just don't think that they're a reliable source. But this was in the 80s, and this was something that was very common for them to ask of suspects.
Yeah, of course.
This strengthened the FBI's suspicions in regards to Stella. The fact that she had 2 bottles and both tested positive for cyanide that were bought at 2 different locations at 2 different times seemed to be more than just extremely unlucky to them.
Yeah. And also to me, that seems like a lot of Excedrin.
Yes. Yes, for sure.
Why are you buying 2 bottles? It just seems like a lot.
From 2 different locations when you already had a full one.
Exactly.
The case against Stella Nichols started to pile up. Circumstantial evidence showed that she had taken out life insurance on her husband.
Of course she did.
Yes. For $76,000 and an additional $100,000 if his death was ruled an accident, which she has been saying the entire time that it wasn't emphysema.
Yeah.
Even in the hospital, she brought that up.
Yeah. She was planning it out.
She was desperate for them to tell her it was an accident to rake in that additional.
Not to mention, then she can file for wrongful death, and there's a lot more coming.
Yep.
Ugh.
Yeah. It gets worse.
I'm sure it does. Here it goes.
Upon investigating, it was believed that at least 2 of the signatures on the insurance policies signed by Bruce were forged, going back to her roots.
Yeah.
Investigators were also able to prove that Stella had purchased algae destroyers from a local pet store for her home aquarium hobby. And it was thought that she had used the same container to crush the cyanide that she used for the algae destroyer. without washing it in between uses.
I mean, that's just not smart.
No, no, not at all.
I mean, not that I think about murder, because this is murder, not murdering. But
Yes.
I mean, that's not really covering your bases there, Stella.
No. At this point, in November 1986, Neill finally consented to a polygraph to clear her name.
Mhm.
She failed it.
Surprise.
Surprise.
We both said that at the
Yep.
same time.
This made investigators focus even more on Stella and her motives. However, they did not have any concrete evidence that she ever purchased cyanide, and not enough evidence existed for them to make an arrest.
No.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Months pass, and in January of 1987, investigators are approached by Stella's adult daughter, Cynthia Hamilton, the daughter that she beat with a curtain rod.
Yeah.
She had some very important information to share with the FBI. Cynthia went on to tell them that her mother had repeatedly told her how she wanted her husband dead. Over the course of their 12-year marriage, Bruce went to rehab and had gotten sober. She had told her daughter how her husband was such a bore now, that he preferred to stay home and not go out to bars, and he would spend hours talking on a CB radio.
Oh, great. That must have been a really hard inconvenience for her.
Yes,
I don't
so
understand.
hard.
Why wouldn't you just get a divorce?
Right? Like, why wouldn't you just go out to the bars by yourself? Why do you care what he's doing?
Yeah. I
I
mean, I
mean,
get if she wanted to spend time with him, but at the same time, maybe you guys can find a new hobby together or something like that. If you really loved him, you would have no problem making that work.
no, and
You'd
he
want to
bettered
see him
himself.
health. Yeah, you'd want to see him healthy.
Yes. Because, I mean, she was a heavy drinker and he was a heavy drinker. And then he
Yeah,
gets
so he
sober
just
and she's
wasn't
like,
he wasn't fun for her anymore. So
nope.
and she probably had guilt and all kinds of things all wrapped up in that.
She called him a bore. He was boring to her now. Cynthia also told them how her mother told her of a previous poisoning attempt with foxglove, a poisonous plant.
Of her husband?
Yep, which failed.
What? Who tells anybody that?
Yeah, she just was telling her daughter all sorts of
Casual.
things.
She's sitting there taking care of the fish and like, oh yeah, I did try to poison him once with foxglove, but that motherfucker lived.
Right? Basically, she was telling her daughter how they could benefit from the insurance money that would come if he died.
Mm.
And how much better their lives would be.
Wow.
Yeah. Cynthia told investigators how her mother, after the failed attempt, went to the Auburn Library to research other methods of killing her husband and had decided on cyanide poisoning.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. The library was subpoenaed, and records show that Stella Neill checked out numerous books from the library on poisoning, including human poisonings from native and cultivated plants and deadly harvest.
I mean,
yes.
real. It's like with Dorothea having that book out on her table.
Yes.
It's like basically like how to dispose of how are these are the drugs and this is what they do and how to dispose of bodies.
Yes. The Deadly Harvest book had never been returned, and she was actually accruing late fees.
Oh, she still had it.
She still had it.
Great.
They also fingerprinted some of the books she had checked out, and on the pages for cyanide, her fingerprints were found.
Of course they were.
By summer of 1987, Stella Nichols' attorney acknowledged to the public that she was the prime suspect in the tampering of the capsules and the deaths of Bruce Neill and Sue Snow.
Yeah.
Duh.
Of course.
On December 9th, 1987, Stella Nichols is indicted on 5 counts of federal tampering charges, including 2 that resulted in the deaths of Bruce Neill and Sue Snow.
Good.
She was arrested that same day. The case went to trial in April of 1988, and on May 9th, 1988, after 5 days of deliberation, the jury found her guilty of all charges. She was sentenced to 2 90-year sentences for the death of Bruce and Sue and 3 10-year terms for the tampering charges. All sentences were to run concurrently, and Nichols was ordered to pay a small fine and to forfeit any of her remaining assets to the victims' families.
That makes sense.
Cynthia Nichol received $250,000 of the reward offered by the
reward.
for the reward offered by the drug companies as a result of her turning in her own mother and it leading to the conviction of the person responsible.
Well, good for her.
Yes, she got her comeuppance on her mother.
I'm sorry, Autumn.
I know.
That was the most autumn-y thing you've said yet.
I know, right? I'm so awkward.
Oh my God. Okay.
Nichol became eligible for parole in 2018 when she was 75 years old. As of 2019, she is in a female-only, low-security federal correctional institution in California. Her release date is given as July 10th, 2040, and no parole hearing dates are provided. Stella Nichol maintains that she is innocent and that her daughter was motivated by the reward money.
I mean, no. I'm sorry, Stella.
Yeah. No one believes you, Stella.
Nobody believes you.
How do we always do this?
I don't know.
Poisonings and capsules.
Poisoning, capsules.
She inserted herself into the investigation. She called the investigator, was like, hey, my husband's death was super suspicious. I need this to be an accident, blah, 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 blah. Like, how do? We never talk about what we're doing. And then we always end up having these interweaving
kind of like
connections.
a little connection there.
I think it's just because we've been friends for so long.
Maybe. But on the break, I did legitimately say to you, if you have a cross-eyed assailant, I swear to God.
I know.
Like, this cannot be that
she
we
wasn't
have
cross-eyed that I know of.
Because
she does have glasses.
Because you did say to me, though, you were like, oh, wait till you hear, we definitely have some similarities. I was like, no.
Yes. Every time when you started telling me the story and you mentioned the poisoning and the capsules, I was like, oh, here we go again. Here's our connection.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Next time, maybe we won't have a connection. Who knows?
Who knows? It's just been weird that every single episode, it has some kind of connecting feature.
I'm kind of excited because my next one is going to be, was referred to me. I am now getting referrals for old timey cases, which I love.
Yes.
But it was sent to me by a friend of mine that's like, I think you should cover this one. It'd be a really good one. And I've never heard of it. So I'm excited to cover that one. But if you do want to send us suggestions or ones that you're just, I have to hear this, you can always reach out to us, DM us on Instagram at Murder Not Murdering. You can go to our website that has all of our information on there as well, or you can email us at info@murdernotmurdering.com.
We love to hear from you, especially when you reach out via DM on Instagram and tell us the things that you're loving about our podcast. We read every single comment and it is so heartwarming.
It's been really nice. It's been really nice to just hear that people are enjoying it because we're having such a good time. So it is nice to hear that too.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think that wraps up another week. We will be back next Saturday with a new episode, probably old timey mixed with a little of something that goes similarly with it. I don't know. We will find out when we all get there at the same time.
Yes, you'll just have to stay tuned and listen to us on Saturdays.
Yes. So we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.